Liverpool versus Everton. Manchester United versus Manchester City. Sheffield Wednesday versus Sheffield United. Arsenal versus Tottenham Hotspur. Let's go to Italy. Lazio versus Roma. Inter versus Milan. Let's go to Bulgaria. Slavia Sofia versus Levski Sofia. Spain, Real Madrid versus Atletico Madrid. Let's go to South Africa. Soweto, Kaiser Chiefs versus Orlando Pirates. In Scotland, Celtic versus Rangers. Brazil, Fluminense versus Flamengo, Rio de Janeiro. Let's go back to England. Derby County versus nobody, nothing. Derby, a great English city, doesn't have a derby. Where's the justice in that? So what is a derby, and why is a derby called a derby? Here is the Cambridge Online Dictionary's definition of a derby: a sports event between teams in the same area. And they give the example of Manchester United and Manchester City. I suppose you could say that the match between Derby County and Nottingham Forest is a derby. It's often described as that because they are in the same area of the country, but not the same city, and I'm going to be concentrating on that. There are sporting derbies in other sports, like the Yale versus Princeton University's American football derby, and I suppose that Yale and Princeton are in the same virtual area, so that's a kind of derby. Some would say cricket matches between England and Australia are derbies, but the area defined here is the world. It doesn't matter. I'm going to stick to football, or soccer as it's sometimes called, for reasons that will become clear. Derby is the county town, a kind of capital of Derbyshire in the English Midlands. The British and American pronunciations are quite different, as you can see from the dictionary definition. Why? Well, the American pronunciation is logical, which isn't always a good idea when pronouncing English place names. Probably the British pronunciation is closest to the original and comes from a time when ER was pronounced as R. I won't go into the details of the great vowel shift that took place between 1400 and 1700 because that will take all day. What it means is that the spelling of the town of Derby has the spelling that corresponds to the older pronunciation. So why is this type of sporting event called a derby? Let's look at the two main theories. One theory is based on location, and the other is based on the title of one of England's oldest and richest aristocratic families. This family's surname was Stanley, and the heads of this family have been Earls of Derby since 1485, when Lord Thomas Stanley was made the first Earl of Derby by Henry Tudor, who went on to become Henry VII. Thomas received the earldom after helping Henry defeat Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth. However, let's start with the geographical theory. The term Derby is thought to have originated from Ashbourne, a town in Derbyshire in England. Since around the 12th century, two teams from opposing sides of Ashbourne contest the royalshrovetidefootball match between the uppers and the downers. We are talking about medieval football. This form of football, typically classified as mob football, would be played in towns and villages involving unlimited numbers of players on opposing teams. They would clash in a heaving mass of people struggling to drag an inflated pig's bladder by any means possible to the markers at each end of the town or the village. These antiquated games went into sharp decline in the 19th century when the Highway Act was passed, banning the playing of football on public highways. In spite of this, some games continued to be played in some parts of the United Kingdom and still survive in a number of towns. One of the most notable is the Royal Shrovetide football match on Shrove Tuesday in February and Ash Wednesday in Ashbourne in Derbyshire. This is the game that many believe created the use of derby to describe local rivalries. The two teams that play the game in Ashbourne, Derbyshire are known as the Uppards and the Downards, local dialect that means upwards and downwards. The Uppards are traditionally those town members born to the north of Hemmoor Brook, a stream which runs through the town, and the Downards are those born south of the river. The aim is to score a goal by tapping the ball against the goal stones. These are old millstones. The Uppards' goal is upstream from Shawcroft, adjacent to the site of the former Sturston Mill, and the Downards' goal is downstream from Shawcroft, adjacent to the site of the former Clifton Mill. The ball is goaled by tapping it 3 times against the millstone. A bit more complicated than that. So the rules are basically the same as medieval football. The ball can be carried, kicked or thrown. I don't have my own video of the game, and for copyright reasons I can't show it here. I'll leave a link to the video in the video description. Here are some other rules. Committing of murder or manslaughter is prohibited. The ball may not be carried in a motorised vehicle or transported by a horse. The ball may not be hidden in a bag, a coat or a backpack, etc. Cemeteries and churchyards in the town and the town memorial gardens are strictly out of bounds, and playing after 10 p.m. is forbidden. Medieval football was clearly not for the faint-hearted. There are several recorded instances of murder during matches, and we complain about hooliganism today. Clearly, the rule about motorised vehicles is a later addition, and I suspect a rule about drones will soon be added. As they say in Ashbourne, enemies for one day. The idea is that people share the community spirit except for one day, the day of the Derby. The theory is based on the Stanley family, the Earls of Derby. Many of the Earls of Derby were keen sportsmen. The 12th Earl of Derby, Edward Smith Stanley, was a great sponsor of sports and founded the Derby horse race in Epsom. He lived from 1752 to 1834. Some believe that there is a link here, but it's not very clear. However, to see a stronger link, we need to go to Liverpool, home of the two famous football clubs, Liverpool and Everton. Goodison Park, Everton Stadium, and Anfield, Liverpool Stadium, are both on the edge of Stanley Park and very near to each other. Stanley Park was named after Lord Stanley of Preston, who became the 16th Earl of Derby and Lord Mayor of Liverpool from 1895 to 1896, and the first Chancellor of Liverpool University. The link between the Stanley title used by the eldest sons of the Earl of Derby and the Derby title was well known in Liverpool. The shortest route between the two stadiums when the teams were playing each other was through Stanley Park, known locally by many people as Derby Park, hence the name. My mother was a Liverpudlian and from a family of Everton supporters, and she said that on Derby Day, the match between Everton and Liverpool, the fans walked to whichever stadium was hosting the event, and this meant passing through Stanley Park, named after Lord Stanley of Derby. Many fans call this the Derby Walk. I think the connection is obvious. So there we have it. Even in the age of internet, with the Oracle Google giving us instant answers to everything, we still don't know which of these theories is correct. I love this. Maybe in the future, new evidence will emerge and will give us the final answer. Let's wait and see. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please click like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.